Hey, Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble and sponsored by Betway. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Heidi, the Raiders are still in this thing with 3 weeks left, and regardless of how it ends up, what a win against New England.
Today on the show, we'll talk about that walk-off win by the Raiders against the Hoodie, and then we'll look ahead to the last East Coast trip of the year. It's on to Pittsburgh.
Okay, Raider Nation, we would love to hear from you, so here's how you can get in touch with us. Give us a call on the Only Nation podcast voicemail line at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. You can also check us out on the web at onlynationpod.com.
Here's the latest Raider news.
Chandler Jones scored a touchdown on the last play of regulation, picking off an attempted lateral by the Patriots. So instead of going to overtime, the Raiders were able to treat the home crowd to a thrilling and unbelievable 30-24 victory.
You know, and as I watched the play unfold, I could not help but think back to the Cardinals game. And here I'm thinking, okay, the Raiders are driving down for what's going to be potentially the winning game. And all of a sudden, one unbelievable play, and everything just flips and jaws drop. And the same thing happened against New England. I don't know why Jacoby Myers decided to throw the ball, not much a lateral. He threw a backward pass to no one except for Chandler Jones, who pretty much stuffed Mac Jones to the ground. And then, so it's Jones on Jones, and Jones scores the touchdown going the other way. But that unbelievable finish. There were a lot of Patriots fans in the crowd, but when that happened, Allegiant Stadium just erupted, and you could tell there was a lot of fan presence there for the Vegas Raiders.
Oh, yeah. And I would like to read a quote from Whiplash 95 on the YouTube highlight reel. He wrote, "Thank you, Patriots. Anytime I do anything dumb ever again, I'll just remember the last play of this game and realize I could be doing worse."
Ouch. I wonder if Jacoby Myers is going to be allowed on the plane going back to New England. I'm not sure that anybody would want him to get on that plane.
Well, he had a couple of big plays, but that last one wasn't very good.
Not only was it not good, you just go ahead and take a knee at that point and go into overtime. You've taken the momentum away from the Raiders, although the Raiders did get some of the momentum back at the very end with the big touchdown pass. But again, they had kind of swung things around after coming back from 17-3 down. They had made a lot of corrections and adjustments, and they just seemed to have a little bit of an edge until the very end of the game.
They definitely had an edge, and all they had to do was really go into overtime, and they would have had a really good chance of winning, especially if you are matching up Bill Belichick against Josh McDaniels. Bill Belichick is going to beat him 9 out of 10 times simply because he's so good.
Yeah, and McDaniels is not.
No, he's not. Derek Carr was 20 for 38 for 231 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he also had an interception which turned into a Patriot touchdown. It was a pick six. Darren Waller came back to cash in on a touchdown, and Hunter Renfrow also came back to make a big reception. It was good to see both of them back in action.
And, as much as we like to talk about these two, once again, Davante Adams is the guy that he's the straw that stirs the drink, and we need to keep getting the ball to him. He's not getting the number of receptions he needs, and this Raider offense needs to generate more through him. Again, it's good to see Darren Waller back. Good to see him with a touchdown catch, and Hunter Renfrow made a big catch on a very difficult play. But again, not enough of it's going to the quality player, the guy that we brought in to really lead this offense. And I just wish that the play calling would go more and that the consistent passing would go good. Now, when Derek Carr's on, he's on. But when he's not, he's just really, really bad.
Well, there was one play towards the end of the game where Darren Waller, I don't know what he was doing, but he got in the way of a great throw between Derek and Davante Adams. And if he would have let it go through to Davante would have had a touchdown and would still be running to New England right now. Somehow he got in the way.
Well, that's true. Derek did miss a wide open Mac Hollins on another crossing route, though. So again, it's not all on one player or different players, but it just seems like this Raiders offense is not in sync enough times to build consistent drives over and over. They did hardly anything in the second half until that very last drive.
Yeah, Devontae Adams needs to have more than 4 receptions for 28 yards. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
The Raiders' defense held up in spite of the fact that the Patriots gained 206 yards on the ground. Also, the Raiders had 13 penalties for 90 yards, including quite a few pre-snap penalties.
And again, this is one of the things that's worried us all year is the lack of discipline. And of course, during the preseason, we saw hardly any errors like this, but they have just really come unraveled. And 13 penalties for 90 yards, including, again, as we mentioned, a lot of pre-snap penalties on the offensive line. Once again, this is a patchwork offensive line. There's been some injuries there, but you've got to be able to be more disciplined on both sides of the ball. And of course, this defense, we need to really beef this defense up. Made no offseason acquisitions in terms of going to the trade route or bringing in another big name on the defensive line. Chandler Jones, again, he's shown up at points, but not really. Max Crosby, the Patriots did an excellent job double teaming him and making sure that he was not going to control the game. They did an excellent job with that, making the adjustments. The Raiders defense, we just simply have to bring in more quality people, both through the draft and through free agency, to get this beefed up, because the Patriots really, especially in the second half, just pushed this Raiders defense around.
And it really was not one of the better games for the Raiders offensive line. They really struggled throughout much of the game.
They did.
So, how did the Raiders win the game?
All right, how indeed. The Raiders got lucky at the very end, but Carr staged another comeback with that clutch TD throw to Keelan Cole. The defense, as we mentioned, they got pummeled, but they withstood things. They only gave up a couple of field goals instead of touchdowns. Now, the offense didn't do much during the entire second half, but still came up big when it counted. Once again, the Raiders gave up a big lead, but in unbelievable fashion, it really looked like it was going to go into overtime before that completely boneheaded play by the Patriots. Jacoby Myers just gift-wrapped the game for this Raiders team. Now, let's get to Pittsburgh. Let's take care of business, and let's move the record to 7-8. Now, again, that's not a great record, but then we can focus on what I think is our Super Bowl, which is the last 2 games of the season against 2 of our biggest rivals.
Okay. That sounds fair.
Anything you want to add to that?
I will say, though, that the Raiders giving up a lead, it was nice to see them be able to make that comeback. Another clutch comeback by Derek Carr, who is fair to Midland. He is not an elite quarterback. He definitely has his flashes of brilliance. He definitely has his flashes of ineptitude. Seemed after that pick 6 that he gave up, he kind of curled up and went and hid for a while. But, he led the team, and they were able to make that comeback.
Lots of Raider Nation has been on fire about Derek Carr on both one side of the fence and the other. And today's performance, or this past week's performance, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, is certainly not going to change a lot of people's minds. The people that are in favor of Carr are still going to be there. The ones who are against him are going to point the finger and say, you see, they blew another lead. They didn't do anything in the second half, and he's the fault of everything. Now, I will go on record now. I was earlier in the season saying that I really believed that Carr was not coming back, that he would either retire or that the Raiders would just move on without him. I've kind of flipped my stance on that now. I think based on where they are, I think that Carr's coming back and McDaniels is coming back as well. I still believe that the Raiders need to draft a quarterback, not on the first pick. They certainly need to focus on defense, but I think they do need to bring a young quarterback in who they can groom and who can take over for Carr in 2 to 3 years, if not sooner. But again, I don't think he's going anywhere. And I think that if he plays like he's capable, and I really don't think that he's got down the offense yet, I really don't believe that he and McDaniels are on the same page. As much as everybody says that they're getting there, I don't think so. And again, I think the record would be much different if they were. I think it would be at least 8-6, but probably more along the realms of 9-5 or maybe even 10-4. Again, I don't think it's all in Derek's fault. I don't think he's played up to the level that he's been capable of playing this year. But again, I just don't think he's in sync with his head coach.
Up until a month ago, I was right with you as saying he wasn't going to be back, but I also have changed my mind in that month. I'm still not sure if Josh McDaniels will be back. I think that these last 3 games are really going to determine that. I think that if it's a complete collapse, Mark Davis will find a way to get rid of him. But I think that Derek Carr is going to get the benefit of the doubt that it's the first year in the system and that there's a really good chance he actually is going to be back. Now, I will say, this weekend I was able to watch a bowl game, the Fresno State bowl game, the LA Bowl, where they beat Washington State. Go Bulldogs. And they had a quarterback. He's a senior. And I really enjoyed watching him play. His name is Jay Kaner. And he's somebody who I could really see make the transition from Bulldog to Raider and kind of sit behind Carr for a while and be groomed and take over. Now, I know I'm from Fresno, so I'm biased, but I wouldn't mind watching that happen.
Well, once we get into the off season, I'm going to do a lot of scouting, and once we come back and start getting into the pre-draft, I'm going to give you lots of different choices as far as quarterback and lots of other positions as well. So that's when I'm going to go hard to work and really hit the paint and give you lots of names and considerations, and we'll see how we do.
Okay. All right, T3, why don't you tell us your top 3 for the week?
T3's top 3.
All right, here is this week's version of T3's top 3. Number 1, Dylan Parham and Alex Bars both went down to injury for the Raiders' offensive line during the game against the Patriots. That and the number of pre-snap penalties, which we've already alluded to, point out the vulnerability of the depth on this offensive line, which gave up 3 more sacks after holding up pretty well over the past few weeks. Once we get through this year, can we please focus on building up the O-line? Number 2, hopefully, all the negative talk about Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow can go away now that they're both back. For the last 3 weeks of the season, let's work on getting them more and more involved in the offense, but let's not forget about Davante Adams. Remember, the Raiders have the best receiver in the NFL. Number 3, congratulations to A.J. Cole, who was this year's Raider nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. The punter was chosen as the Silver and Black's nominee for his excellence on the field, as well as off it through his efforts to give back to the community, most notably with Special Olympics Nevada. So congratulations to A.J. Cole. And that is this week's top 3.
I'll admit, when Dylan Parham and Alex Bars went down with injuries, I was not very happy with that, especially since the offensive line has been really thin this year. The Raiders not only have been very thin, but they're even more thin now, having released John Simpson and Lester Cotton Sr. Now, I'm not sorry to see either of those two go. Both of them, they belong somewhere else. Good luck to them. Thank you for being Raiders, but, go somewhere else. We don't need you. But we do need some bodies to put there on the offensive line. The injuries and the instability started to show through with the way the offensive line was playing this week. So hopefully Parham and Bars will be back, and that it'll be minor injuries. The offensive line will be able to secure itself the way that they had been playing for the last couple months. They've been doing pretty good. So hopefully they will return to that point. The talk about Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, I don't think it's going to go completely away. I think that Raider Nation is going to want to see more from them. They did see some good from Renfrow and from Waller, but I think they're going to want to see more. That's not to say that they aren't going to see more, but they're waiting and they want to see it. Now, Davante Adams, we need to feed him more. The Raiders need to feed him more, plain and simple. 4 receptions is not enough for him in one game. And A.J. Cole, congratulations. You're a great guy. and you are very deserving of the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Keep up the great work. Give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or text message at that number, or send in a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts. And on Raider Roots this week.
All right, I've fallen a little bit behind with the holidays, but I hope to get the 2013 season recorded this week, so it should be out either this week or next.
All right, T3, why don't we find out what we do or we don't know?
All right, it's time for another edition of Did You Know? In this segment, I will ask Heidi and all of our listening audience a Raiders-related question with a list of answers to choose from. It's multiple choice, so just give it your best guess. So here is this week's question. Who was the first Raiders rookie quarterback to come into a regular season game and throw a touchdown pass? Was it A, Mark Wilson, B, Steve Berline, or C, Rusty Hilger? Heidi, what do you think?
The first Raiders rookie quarterback in the history of the Raiders?
Yep, that is the question.
Wow, I would have imagined there was one way before these guys.
Nope.
Not even like Tom Flores?
Nope.
I'll go with A, Mark Wilson.
The correct answer is C, Rusty Hilger. It happened in 1985 in a 35-20 victory over the New England Patriots. He was the first Raiders rookie quarterback to come into a regular season game and throw a touchdown pass. Mark Wilson was a rookie in 1981, but Jim Plunkett was the starter, and he did not come in during that season and throw a touchdown pass. And Berline was in 87, 88 after Rusty Hilger.
I got the chronology right.
No. Yep, pretty much. Here we go. I thought it was kind of nice to slip this one in here because it happened in a victory over the New England Patriots.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think, okay, which one was the first one? You know, which one was the earliest rookie? I think Mark Wilson's the earliest rookie, so I'll go with that one.
And you're right. He was the earliest of the three.
Okay. Well, there went my line of reasoning.
That's okay. This was a little bit of a tricky one.
I always had a soft spot for Rusty Hilger.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it was his name.
Rusty. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now it is time for Heidi's Heroes.
Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
Okay, Raider Nation. Today, there can really only be one hero. He's a man who had a big impact on the game against the Patriots. No, on the stat sheet, it doesn't look like he really had that big of an impact. He had 2 tackles, but he did have, what would that be considered? A fumble recovery on that lateral?
Yeah, fumble recovery.
Technically, he had a fumble recovery, and he had a touchdown. My hero can only be one person. It's Chandler Jones. Now, he did make his presence known during the game. He did have a big hit against Mac Jones towards the end of the game, and that kind of rattled him a little bit. Mac Jones, he was hit by Chandler Jones, and I believe it was Bilal Nichols, and it kind of rattled him up. He received a little bit of medical attention on the sidelines, and it was a pretty significant hit to him. Probably didn't affect him at all in the game, but it let him know that Chandler was there, and Chandler's footsteps were pounding towards him. But Chandler, last play of the game, he stood there. He kept his eye on the quarterback, didn't leave his post, even though the ball was flipping and flying everywhere across the field. He intercepted the lateral, gave a great straight arm to Mac Jones. I mean, the dude just crumbled. It was beautiful. And trotted on down the field, surrounded by a defensive flock of Raiders, blocking for him and making sure nobody was going to stop him. Made it into the end zone. End of game. Raiders 30, Patriots 24, no time left on the clock. And he is swarmed by the entire Raiders lineup. I did have other heroes that I could have named, but after watching that, I just couldn't come up with a different one. Chandler Jones, you are Heidi's hero this week. You are everyone's hero this week.
Except for Jacoby Myers.
And you know what? I would have to say, what was his name? Rondé Stevenson?
Ramondre Stevenson, yes.
Ramondre Stevenson. I got to feel bad for the kid. He's the one that lateraled it back to him. And he had a spectacular game. He really did. But that one boneheaded play ruined the entire thing for him. So I got to feel a little bad for the kid, but should have just gone down. Should have gone out of bounds, should have gone down.
As many times as plays have gone against the Raiders during the course of this season, it was nice to be on the other end for a change. And Chandler, congratulations. It was a big play, a big game. I'm glad that you were able to score that touchdown against your former team, no less. And congratulations. So, Heidi, good job on that.
There was no other choice. And if we would have lost, nobody would have gotten it.
There we go.
And that about does it for this week on the Only Nation podcast. If you'd like to help support the show, you can send in a donation at paypal.me/onlynationpod. You can find me, Heidi Stabbert, on social media as @KevlarPromDress on Twitter and Instagram, or Heidi Stabbert on Facebook. You can also find me on YouTube on Captain Jack Rackham's channel. Every other Tuesday night, I join the DC Wench, Peggy Holmes, and Andrea Trask on Silver and Black Ladies Night. And might I add, Captain Jack Rackham has been on almost every single Raiders broadcast this year. He was on it again today.
All right. Well, we've got to keep close ties with Captain Jack. Maybe we can make it to Las Vegas one day and do our live show there. All right, Raider Nation, as our podcast continues to grow, we would like you on board with us, so please contact the show. Send us your name and address so we can send you some free Raiders swag and podcast stickers. Call us and tell us what you want to know. Throw us an interesting nugget that we can use on one of our upcoming episodes, and become a part of what we're doing here. Remember, this is the Only Nation, and we want you to be a part of it. So call us 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. There are two easy ways to find me on social media. You can send me a tweet at T3_sports703, as several of you do, or you can hit me up on Facebook at Tom, Thom Jones. And thank you again for your support of the Raider Roots podcast. Please give us your feedback on the episodes. Tell us what you want to know more about. Again, we're recording this show right after the game on Sunday. With Christmas coming up, we will not be recording next Sunday. We will try to get a podcast episode out a little bit earlier in the week, but with the holidays, we just don't really know. But keep in touch with us and keep on the lookout, because we're going to have another episode out pretty soon.
We don't know when it'll be, but it'll be soon. As always, we look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, everyone, I would like to wish you a happy holidays, and go Raiders.
We're not just a nation. We are the Only Nation. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the entire Only Nation podcast to wish you and your family happy holidays and special wishes for a happy new year. And go Raiders!